Well, what we want to do is to stress that we support the European arrest warrant in the way that it has generally worked. In principle, we believe that it is an effective instrument because it cuts the delays and the red tape in traditional extradition. So we're not wanting to call into question the basic and fundamentals of European arrest warrant, but we want to ask the Commission and the Council what reforms they propose to, if you like, deal with the criticisms that are addressed to the European arrest warrant, which we share. Because we are a group that wants to catch criminals, of course, and doesn't want them to languish beyond the reach of the courts, but we also care very much about civil liberties and human rights. We always supported the European arrest warrant as an ALDE group on the grounds that it would be accompanied by a programme to increase the protection of the rights of suspects and accused people who are defended, so they would get a fair trial, essentially. Now, the Council and the Member States have been very, very slow in bringing in those measures. So there's been a period where, to be honest, the standards of criminal justice in some Member States are too weak. So there are people who are not really getting a fair trial, who are kept on remand before trial, sometimes for a year or 2 years because they're not granted bail or allowed to go back to their home country. We also believe that there needs to be, if you like, a higher threshold before some countries issue European arrest warrants. There needs to be a test of proportionality, i.e. the crime needs to be above a certain level of seriousness. I mean, famously, Poland, for instance, has no sort of lower threshold for when a European arrest warrant is issued. So it could be for a minor theft, you know, sort of failing to pay for a restaurant meal or something, which is a crime, I'm not condoning it, but it's not important and serious enough to justify the huge cost of issuing and implementing a European arrest warrant. So we want it to be tightened up. We want the standards of criminal justice to be raised. We are now seeing those defence rights coming through the system, but it's quite slow. We want to have a bit of a higher test of seriousness before European arrest warrants are issued. We also want to, for a national court, in a very serious case where they believe that there would be a travesty of justice if someone was returned to another member state, to be able to say no. Not routinely, of course, because that would undermine the whole point of the European arrest warrant, but if there was a very serious impediment, then a return should not take place. We also want the courts in one country, if their European arrest warrant is refused in another member state, to withdraw it, to say, okay, we accept that there are problems, we will not keep it on the system, which prevents people travelling because they keep getting arrested. So we essentially want a tightening up all round, a little bit more rigour, as well as greater respect for civil liberties in the system.